It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the 5 new releases of January 25th, 2008. Once again, a wide assortment of different movies. We have a comedy, in quotation marks. We have the return of an 80s action icon. We have Diane Lane in a thriller. We also have another dance movie, and we also have U2 making a 3D movie. But before we get to all of those, it's time for another installment of a new segment here I'm like to call comedy. And I consider this another one of those movies that tries to be funny and just isn't. And yeah, this is the movie that Rambo lost to. And really think about this as you watch the trailer for Meet the Spartans. Once again, Rambo lost to this movie. You fucking people out there. Maybe not all of you out there, because maybe some of you might have been... I would like to think you weren't too... my audience is not too young to remember this movie coming out, but who knows? You never know at this point. I would like to think that they were in the same... The people that watch this video are in the same demographic as I am, in their 30s, and either way, there's no excuse for how bad this movie is, for the fact that this movie was a big success, because good lord... yeah, you see, it's mostly a parody of 300, but parody in quotation marks. It's more of a, hey, remember when 300 was the thing? Hey, remember when Britney Spears went crazy and she decided to cut all her hair off? Hey, remember Happy Feet? Remember Shrek the Third? Remember remember Chris Chan's Leave Britney Alone video? You know, remember Deal or No Deal? Like, that's all these movies are, is just, hey, remember this, remember this, remember this, and there's nothing funny about it whatsoever. That is literally this movie. It's the crux of the parodies, the parody, in quotation marks, I have to keep reminding myself of that, is 300. But there's references to everything that was basically just popular within the last year. That's literally the entire movie. This is the definition of what is wrong with spoof movies in general. And the fact that this country made this movie the #1 movie at the box office, it's amazing. It is amazing how low we have stooped. We have done stupid things in this country, and we continue to do stupid things in this country, but this is definitely the absolute worst thing imaginable that we could have done, to make this movie a hit and allow these two idiots to keep making movies like this, because they kept making movies like this over and over again. And yeah, this is... What do I even need to say about this movie? This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. The jokes are not funny. Oh, I'm sorry. I say jokes, but they're not really jokes. They're just, like I said, references to stuff that happened in the last year. That's all these movies are. And the fact that this was a box office hit, the fact that this film beat out so many better movies, and this was the top film that came out like that weekend, like, it's awe-inspiring. It is absolutely 100% awe-inspiring. And I think... But here's the thing. I think a lot of people saw this movie and saw how bad it is and realized, you know, we probably should... You know, we thought maybe this was going to be funny, but we realized how terrible this was, because the next movie these two guys would do came out in August of that same year. Like, they tried to do the same thing again, and people were smart enough to stay the hell away from that movie. Like, so maybe, just maybe... Maybe this is something where it's both a blessing and a curse. It's a curse because it was the top movie at the box office, but the blessing maybe from the people realizing that, yeah, this fucking sucks. I mean, to explain how bad this movie is, this thing is 83 minutes long. We just had a movie called Love Hurts that just came out recently. Which is a bad movie, unfortunately, but at least that had a reason to pad out the running time here. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the studio forced them to cut that down so that they could do essentially a re-release down the road with Shout Factory and all that. But this movie, if you take the credits out, is only 60 minutes long. There's 23 minutes of credits and outtakes, if you will, because they knew they had nothing to work with. They padded the running time out. This movie is so goddamn lazy. Like, this is why I give movies like The Comebacks and Superhero Movie and like anything made by the Zucker Brothers a free pass around this time period, because you know what? They're at least trying to entertain you. They're at least trying to be funny, and sometimes they do work. But this There's no excuse. This is a complete clusterfuck of a movie. This is easily the bottom of the barrel. One of the worst comedies you will ever see in your entire life. It is amazing that this isn't in my worst movies list because honestly, this could have easily been right up there because it's that bad of a movie. It's wasting all these people that could be doing something much better with their lives instead of making this garbage. And yeah, it's a complete waste of your time. It's a terrible movie. What more do you got to say, man? Meet the Spartans. Absolute abysmal garbage. So, let's see the movies that this thing beat out. The better movie, if you will, that came out this weekend. Sylvester Stallone returning as John Rambo in Rambo. Well, this was originally supposed to be called John Rambo, but then they changed it to just Rambo. And this is, of course, the fifth installment of the Rambo series. Fourth installment of the Rambo series. There are 5 movies, but we won't get to the 5th one until 11 years later. But this is the 4th installment of the Rambo series. And this time around, you have Rambo, once again played by Stallone, who leads a group of mercenaries into Burma to rescue Christian missionaries who have been kidnapped by a local infantry unit. And what follows is a movie that is what you'd expect from a Rambo movie, except not as bad as something like Rambo 3, and much more over-the-top craziness. I mean, the final climax of the movie alone, where Rambo is just going around killing people with this, what do you call it? What is the, I'm trying to remember what it was that he uses. I can't remember it now. A 50 caliber machine gun. I was trying to remember what it was called. I know what it would look like, but I just couldn't remember the name of it. But no, it's a 50 caliber machine gun. That entire scene is stupid. It's insane. It's over the top. And I'll be damned. When that happened, I was enjoying the hell out of that. As most people did. Because, yeah, it's stupid. It's over the top. But it was so goddamn fun to watch that entire scene. Like, how over the top it was. The fact that they used practical effects mixed in with the CG. I mean, this was a good fun time all across the board. Is it a classic film? No. Is it a masterpiece? No. But you know what? It was certainly the most enjoyable, fun Rambo movie I had seen up to that point. And I had seen only a few of them until is at that point. I only saw maybe the first one and the second one. I didn't see the third one until later on down the road. But yeah, this is definitely a very fun film all across the board. It's stupid, it's silly, but it works very well for what it's trying to do here. I mean, it's a very good movie. It's good to see Rambo back in the saddle here again. It's just a good fun time all across the board. Stupid, yes, but a good fun time all across the board. I enjoy it so much. Rambo, the movie that should have been the #1 movie this weekend, but of course, people were stupid to go see Meet the Spartans, or maybe they weren't. Maybe the movie was a success because they bought tickets for Meet the Spartans, but then snuck their way into Rambo after that. I mean, it's not like that has to happen before, so I wouldn't be shocked at all if that was actually what happened. But if you bought tickets for Meet the Spartans to see our next movie, then you are a friggin' idiot. Let's talk about Diane Lane in Untraceable. Yeah, if you're stupid enough to leave your car because it's shut down, leave it, then come back and think nothing is going to happen whatsoever on a dark, stormy night, only to realize that the killer is literally behind you. You deserve to die, and I'm sorry. Diane Lane deserved to die in this fucking movie for being as stupid as she is. And I mean, this is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my life. You have a story that's set in Portland, Oregon, where you follow a serial killer who rigs contraptions that kills his victims based on the numbers of hits he receives on a website that features a live streaming video of the victim. Millions of people log on, hastening the victim's deaths. And yeah, there's possibly a good idea here, maybe a good message here about, hey, careful what you do online and all that, watch the dangers of online and all that stuff, but this movie isn't smart enough to tell you a good story. No. It wants to do all this for shock value. And you know what? Shock value can work if you have a good concept to work with here. Why do we think the Saw movies were the big successes that they were? Because people wanted to go see the new and elaborate creative ways that they're going to kill people. Nobody was going to this movie to see anything new or spectacular or anything amazing about it. And it's a shame that everybody involved here should be doing so much better than this. And the film is it's so frustrating. I had to burp it out before I had a chance to think of what I was talking about. But it's one of the most hypocritical movies I have ever seen in my life. Like, it's a movie that literally is trying to get a message out there, but it's saying, hey, go ahead and do this because we want you to be entertained by this, even though our main goal and the message of this movie is don't do this, but come see our movie anyway where we're going to glorify this. Like, this is like The Condemned all over again. It's literally a film that is one of the most hypocritical things you could ever see in your entire life. Like, this is a terrible movie, and it doesn't help that everybody in here is stupid. Diane Lane is supposed to be an FBI agent. You're supposed to be very smart if you're an FBI agent, and yeah, this is not a smart lady in this movie. She is pretty dumb with the decisions she makes. Everything she does in this movie is incredibly stupid. Like, it's just a poorly written character, and it's not Diane Lane's fault that she's bad in it. It's a bad character she's been written as. Colin Hanks is in this movie. She's pretty badly written. Billy Burke is in here. He's badly written. Everybody in this movie is badly written as a stereotype, a character who is glorifying hypocrisy in every way, shape, or form. And nothing about this movie is terrifying or threatening whatsoever. This is the definition of a film that is so stupid at trying to convince you about something and just fails on every single level. This is a terrible movie, man. I hate this film so goddamn much. Avoid Untraceable like the plague. Avoid this movie. You're doing yourself a huge favor by doing so, because the people in here may not be smart, but you could be smart enough to avoid this movie. But you can also do the same thing with our next movie, too. Here's another one of those dance movie clones that was trying to capture the spirit and success of Step Up, and You Got Served and Stomp the Yard, and just was a complete waste of time. How She Moved. If you have to gloat about being the best step competition in the universe, chances are you're not as good as you think you are. And sure enough, just like everything else about this movie isn't as good as it thinks it is. So in the movie, unable to afford the tuition needed to fund her private school education, Rihanna, played by Rutina Wesley from True Blood, returns to her family home in the city while reluctantly reevaluating her future. Upon learning that the top prize for an upcoming step dance competition is $50,000, Rhea uses her impressive moves to earn a coveted slot in her good friend Bishop's predominantly male JSJ crew. Isolated from the local women due to jealousy and separation from her fellow dancers by her sex, the ambiguous dancer is subsequently kicked off the team for showing off during a preliminary competition. Now, if Rhea has any hopes of realizing her medical school dreams, she will have to either earn back Bishop's trust or organize her own dance crew and start over from scratch. In the end, she eventually learns how she moves. Yeah, this is literally every single dance movie that has come out in the last 4 years, and this is definitely one of the lesser ones. In fact, this is probably one where I would say this is probably one of the worst ones easily. This is a terrible movie. And it's literally because they're doing absolutely everything that has been done in every other dance movie. There's nothing clever about these dance moves. There's nothing incredible about these dance moves. There's nothing unique or different about them. It is literally the same movie as Step Up. It's the same movie as You Got Served. It's the same movie as Stomp the Yard. It's literally every single movie, and they're doing absolutely nothing different that we haven't seen done much better in other movies like this. This is not a good movie, and it wastes some good talent. Rutina Wesley can be a very good actress. I mean, she's in True Blood. You've got Nina Dobrev from The Vampire Diaries in here. Like, she's turned out to be a decent actress. There's a lot of things that could work about the movie, but unfortunately, it's stuck in a script that has been done to death so many times before, and there's only so much you can do that's different from the other films to make it stand out on its own. The thing about the Step Up movies is that, yeah, they may all look like the same movies over and over again, but the way they shoot the dance scenes and how the dances go off, like, that's what makes the Step Up movies stand out as much as they do, because they're not afraid of doing the same things over and over again, because they can do unique and creative things with it and keep those movies relatable and also very popular and very enjoyable with each passing film. Like, we're going to see that in a couple weeks when we look at the Step Up sequel, Step Up to the Streets, which actually takes the Step Up franchise into a whole new level, where it started off as kind of like this movie, a generic, bland, romantic dance film, and then and what they do with it later on turns into something unique and very different and very clever. Something that this film refuses to even acknowledge to try to do that. Like, this is not a very good movie. This is a film that wastes a lot of good talent, a lot of good ideas, and just does nothing with it, because it's the same things we've seen done over and over and over again, and there's nothing cleverly done about it, and it's a film that is literally just trying to cash in on the same success of these other movies I've talked about, and not doing it well at all. So yeah, a hard skip on How She Moved. So with all of that said, let us go ahead and move on to our last movie here, which is a very interesting film and how it led to the eventual popular trend that would eventually come down the road in the next couple of years. Let's talk about U2 3D. So as you can see, this is a 3D concert film, but an unusual, it's a very rare, unique concert film, as it's the first ever live-action digital 3D film. Now, the next week we're going to have another digital 3D release coming out here, but these two movies that this one and the next one coming up are very important going forward because of what they did to make these movies. You basically have a film that is concert footage that includes political and social statements made during the shows and features most of the songs from U2's album How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, and it's their second feature film after U2 Rattle and Hum back in 1988, which we talked about on Time About the Movie's Flashback. And it was created with a new type of 3D technology pioneered by Peter Anderson and producer Steve Schler, I think I pronounced it right, but they started thinking about shooting American football games in 3D and decided to use a concert film with U2 to do this, and they shot this at 7 different concerts in Latin America and 2 in Australia to create this movie where it has this very complex setup here, where you're shooting up to 18 different 3D cameras simultaneously and capturing the footage digitally. No movie had done this beforehand, and it was such a unique concept overall, and most people would have never guessed that this film that's under 90 minutes took from 7 different shows and used all these cameras. Like, this is an impressive attempt here. Like, we've had movies that have been made in 3D before. IMAX 3D had a number of different movies, different documentaries coming out in the 2000s and the early 90s, in the late 90s, I should say. But yeah, this was a radically different move because it gave people an opportunity to see what a full-length live-action digital 3D film would look like, and it was eventually the thing that eventually led to the trend that we're going to get to from this point going forward, where digital 3D became a norm for a long period of time. We started to see movies the following year using focusing more on the fact that it's a 3D movie. Like, you can get these 3D glasses that have now become the staple, and it become the trend that you see when you go to a movie theater now. And lucky for me, I was able to see this movie in a regular movie theater with the 3D technology, and it was really impressive to see. Like, it was a movie where it felt like you were actually at this concert, and it is well done on a number of different levels. Like, you can feel like you're right in the thick of this concert, and it's impressively put together. It never feels like it takes you out of the movie in general, and it never feels like you're completely out of this concert overall. And it's a really impressive feat overall, from what I remember from it. I don't even think it is. I can't even remember if this ever has actually been released on Blu-ray or DVD, which it probably has, and I just haven't found it. But yeah, I remember seeing this in theaters in my regular movie theater that I had. I didn't have to go all the way out to, the Pittsburgh Mills or down to the IMAX theaters in Carnegie Science Center in downtown. No, I saw this at a regular theater, and I was blown away with how impressive it looked, man. And it looked really, really impressive to see. And I like U2's music overall. I do like a lot of their songs, and yeah, this was right up my alley. It was cool to see this in a theater. It was cool to have that experience like I was actually at a concert, and it really did a good job of making it feel like you were at a concert, and it did a great job at it. It's a great movie, man. It's a movie that I remember very, very much, even though I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters. But having to see it, remembering how I saw this 3D show, acting is it felt like I was actually at the show. Like, it's an impressive feat what they were able to accomplish here. And of course, it would lead into what would eventually come with movies going into focusing more on the digital 3D aspects. Sometimes, a lot of times it worked, and then there was that time when studios tried to take films that were not made with 3D cameras and tried to put 3D in them, and it failed miserably. And we're still a couple of years away from that happening, but they are notable bad films that we'll eventually get to here. But as far as this film goes, this is a really good film. I do recommend it a lot, especially if you like U2's music. You're going to have a good time with this film, U2 3D. And speaking of 3D movies, that's going to be the thing that starts off our next episode, because that other movie I was talking about, Hannah Montana and Miley Cyrus, The Best of Both Worlds concert, was shot in 3D, and it was the big new release of next weekend, and we'll take a look at that on the next episode. We'll also take a look at Jessica Alba desperately trying to save whatever's left of her struggling film career with The Eye. Another bad comedy. In fact, a lot of these movies here are pretty bad. Next up after that, we have Paul Rudd and Ava Longoria starring in the romantic comedy, if you will, Over Her Dead Body, and another comedy in Strange Wilderness from the same guys that make Grandma's Boy. And let me tell you, Grandma's Boy kicks the crap out of Strange Wilderness. And we're gonna so next week is not gonna look so good, but that's what we'll take a look at when we get me back here tomorrow. But with all that said, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please go ahead and hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, notification button, and the bell. That's when you get updates on when new videos come out. And we do post new videos here every day. So with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.